show him the things, like, if sometimes I use Emily as like a, hey, I'm in a competition with Emily because Emily is love and connection, and I'm also power and achievement is my second one, so I know Emily's never gonna race me.
And even if she beat you, she wouldn't tell you because she loves you too much.
Yeah, so
Actually, I might be like,
but she'll support me, but like, and the things that I need Anthony to support me in, whether it be Emily or whatever, I'll be like, I'm doing this, I'm like running for this, I'm doing this, and he's like, yes, you got this, I got you, like, we're good. But in the things that I'm like, I need the support in this areas, I can't go to him for it because that's not where he can support
Okay, so
me.
you guys hear what she's saying? There may be people that just can't give you what you need. Like, so you need to find someone who can. Does that make sense? So if he can't give her love and connection, and he can't, okay? Like, men only know one way to love and connect, okay?
I forced him into a hug. We need a hug for 20 seconds. He's like,
gets that.
I do it just for
hugs over.
He's like, get off of me.
See, that's why you gotta be bigger than him. You're like, little man, you ain't going nowhere. But at the end of the day, you guys, sometimes you need support people in your life, and you have to be real with what that person can give you. You should not go to Heidi unless you want the truth.
Yep.
I ask permission before I tell it.
And I'm really proud that you have been pulling that in.
Do you want to know what I think or what you want to hear?
Okay?
Depends on the day.
Yeah, so you have to know. What else, you guys? What else are you taking away from today? Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling. Yeah.
Honestly, with all of this, I mean, we're all human, and I like to think that I don't judge very much, but I do. I'm human, you know what I mean? But it's so neat to understand that, okay, if they're wronging me in some way, or it's probably because their core needs aren't being met, and therefore they really don't know what they might be doing. And it's a reflection on their internal and not on me.
Or they don't understand your core need.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I think the other thing is I think it's wise to not assume that they're trying to harm us, but rather that they don't understand. Because you guys, 99% of the world is never going to be taught about this stuff. And so when I think you become more aware and more educated about this stuff, you have to kind of sometimes be the person that is a little more patient because you understand that they don't. Okay? So when I have a consultant that lashes out at me and says, "You didn't show me how to do," why don't you tell me what happened? Now, on the inside, I want to eat her. Okay? You'd be like, "You didn't show up to new consult training," okay? But like at the end of the day, that's not going to help. So I do have to be the person that's like, "Okay, why don't you tell me what happened?" Well, this happened. So what I hear is that you had a hard time and that you felt ill-prepared. Yeah. Have you made it to any of our new consultant training sessions? No, I haven't made it to those. Okay, well that's a tool that I have in place so that you can feel more prepared in moments like this. Which one do you think she's going to be more receptive to? Me just yelling at her and pointing out that it's her choice, or me trying to meet her need and say, "Okay, I think this is what I'm hearing, this is what happened. Yeah. It sounds to me like your need for some security and understanding was breached." Yeah. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when you understand this, I think we have to think the best of people and understand that they don't understand. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Give me one more takeaway. Yeah.
I think it's also important to realize that you have basically all of these in you, and then so one thing that I really noticed having Becky, my doctoral director, she's very much a fun pleasure, and so we're very similar in that, but that also means that her directorship style is very different and very.
How so good.
Well, I love her dearly. I really do. It's very unstructured. So there's a lot of moments where she will like talk about like these are things that we want to do. This is what she wants to strive for. But then just like the rest of us consultants, she doesn't always have a plan on how to act on that. And she doesn't she's a great leader in that she's like excited about doing things and wanting to motivate us, but she doesn't always show us a roadmap on how to get there. Whereas your style is very much, you have it, because you're safety and security, so you have a roadmap, you have guidelines, you have rules that you're following, and you sit down and you figure all that out. She's just like flying by the seat of her pants, which I love, and I'm like, I'm all for that, but at the same time I realize that I have an element of safety and security in me, and that I could use some guidelines, and it would be helpful and beneficial to me to have that element or structure that allows me to somewhat follow that so that I can.
And I think that, again, the understanding of it. So Kenya now understands about herself, like, I'm fun and pleasure, Becky's fun and pleasure, she's super fun to be around. It probably, though, like, I'm gonna feel very comfortable with her, you're gonna feel very comfortable with her. I'm probably gonna stretch you more because my style is very different. And you're gonna probably want and need both. You know, you're gonna have a want and a need for both. Understanding that she's a lot like her mom, and that you're very different than your husband, like going into that, like you guys would probably be wise to say, next time we go out with mom and dad, we need to decide ahead of time what's being paid so that he can relax and enjoy. So I think what it can do is it can just help avoid conflict. It can help you meet the needs of the other people. It can help you connect on a deeper level. And here's the other thing, you guys, this is, and I feel like I'm kind of giving you one of my secrets, but I think it's so important, especially when it comes to your children or your spouses or your spouses or the people that are important to you. Sometimes when people are exhibiting a stress behavior, they'll say, you did this and it made me feel. Do you actually make anybody feel anything? No, you don't. They chose to feel that way. But the truth is your action triggered something in them. Okay, now that doesn't mean your action was wrong. Sometimes you might need to apologize even when you didn't do anything wrong. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm so sorry you felt that way. Thank you for telling me that something I did made you unhappy. Let's talk about that. And they just tell me what happened and then I'll say to them, you know, you guys, I'll say, you know what, Sydney, thank you so much for telling me that. Do you think it would help if I shared with you where I was actually coming from? Yeah. And then they're like, oh gosh, Grace, I didn't take it that way at all. I get it. But do you trust that I want the best for you? Yeah. Do you trust that everything I do is to support you? And it kind of brings everybody back to center. So maybe if, you know, sometime you're in an argument with your spouse or you're trying to help your sister understand something, sometimes if you'll just kind of take that high road for the minute, it helps them leave that stressed place, and then we get back to a place of logic. Does that make sense? Now the next time you hear me do that with you, you know what I'm doing. So, I don't know, you guys, any thoughts about today before I let you go play? Any thoughts about today?
I just tell people what I want. I like have a discussion of what I want and what I need.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. How many of you feel like now understanding this, you might need to tell some people that are important to you what you need? So what do you need? Who are you going to tell them what do you need?
I've actually been doing that more often. Recently with my husband, when different things come up, I was like, okay, well, I need to talk about this, and I need to talk it out, whatever it is. Maybe I'm ready to make a decision on something, maybe I'm not, but I'm like, I need to communicate this thoroughly with you for me to feel okay. So I'm like, I need you to listen, maybe give feedback, maybe not, but I need to get it out.
I think you're also a verbal processor. And you guys, I need you to listen. And right now I'm looking for feedback, and I really don't want your feedback. Because if he starts to talk and you haven't qualified that, you're like, stop!
That wasn't part of the plan.
Exactly. His listening just shut off, and it's just because you just scared the crap out of him. Okay? Absolutely. What else? What do you need? Kenya, what do you need?
Right now, it's just connecting with people.
So you need connecting with people.
Yeah, because I like the fun and pleasure. We've had some this summer, but not a lot, obviously. So I need more outlets of pleasure.
So you also said last night that you need accountability, and I think
Yeah.
that that's a way that you and Eric could work together really effectively. So So maybe you could find a way like where your fun and pleasure became like a reward system for the accountability or something. I think and you two can work together really effectively. I think it'll be one of your
Yeah,
greatest,
I
most
think
formidable
we've
gifts.
there's been some of that kind of already in the works, just with him helping me pay off some debt that I had, and it just, because he's always like so excited when I pay him every month, and like, that's kind of exciting. But yeah, it would be nice to have a little more of a reward after that.
So, and what might be fun is to say, okay, as soon as the debt is paid off, what if we used it to do fun things now? Like, I'm used to giving you this, what if we instead used it towards a day at the winery or whatever, and you made up a list of things you wanted to do?
I like that.
And what do you need, and who do you need to tell?
I don't know, cause I feel like the love and connection is definitely more fulfill. I need fun and pleasure. I need it. I need something to look forward to because the love and connection is already being fulfilled because I'm able to see my family and I'm able to see people I want to see when I want to see them. So now I need the fun and pleasure aspect.
There you go. And you know what? I think that the final question for today is really, how does your business fit into it? So like learning so maybe it's a goal for your business. Maybe it's like doing something, so that's where the communication is, or the accountability. She's using her business so that then she funds fun things. And maybe for your business, you say, you know, Travis, the fun and pleasure is really important to me. And so I want us to make a list of places we want to go and fun things we want to do, just like little day trips or whatever you want to do. I don't care if it's just going out to dinner. And then use your business to pay for it. Does that make sense? Like, I think that that's critical because that's the part I can help with.
And then on the flip side, when you talk to people, you can say, I use my business for this. And then they see, because I know we've talked about this, so that way they can see that you're actually making money and you're just not putting all that money back into the business to continue to buy stuff.
And I think that that's how you also convey, well, this is what's important to me and this is how I use it. What would it look like to you? So maybe you say, I'm really excited because I've actually used my business to pay off some debt this year. And I'm super stoked because I'm almost done and pretty soon I'm going to be using it to take us on a blah, blah, blah. Or I'm really excited because I work full-time as a dental hygienist and my Mary Kay money is what allows us fun trips on the weekend. Or whatever it is that you want. Does that make sense? Or maybe Sam says, you know what? I really didn't like working for someone else. And so ultimately I use my business as a hobby to pay off some debt and to change my financial situation. And now I work for myself completely. Because that's what matters to her. What do you think you'd use it for? It makes it a really easy transition, and then that way this is what's mine. This is me. What would you want it to be for you? Sam, what do you need to communicate to whom?
I need to have a conversation with Anthony about more accountability on my schedule and my work schedule.
Like it? Be prepared.
Good.
Because when you talk to a man, that's the other thing. Honesty.
Yes.
Very direct honesty. What about you, Dallas?
I think, I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to communicate with MJ on, but I think one of the bigger takeaways that I have had today is that I really need to work on myself and my personal goals. So communicating with myself and actually thinking about what I truly want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And to communicate that to your person. To say, you know what, I realized this about myself this weekend and I really want to work on it and I'd love for you to support me in it. And what that really just sounds like is, babe, you got this.
Yeah.
And not letting me give up on it. What have you said?
Just, still finding my way in.
Mm-hmm. So communicating with yourself about what you want. I like it. Ash?
So I need to communicate with my husband and like stop fighting with my own choices. Like, because I do set the goals and then I don't do. Then I'm like, oh, I don't need to do that, and I just kind of like fight myself.
I would ask myself, what makes you do that? That would be a good question.
Yeah.
That could be something we could talk about.
Let's do it.
I'm looking at Maddie, she's like, don't do it, Ashley. What about you?
I feel like I have really good solid goals and I like the direction that I'm heading. However, I feel like I need to have a conversation with Matt, my husband, in regards to his support and what he needs from me to feel secure as I go after it. Although I don't know if he's not a communicator, he's not really a talker. And I don't know if the 30 pack would help, but that he doesn't remember.
I don't think that it's
But
that
yeah.
he's not a talker. I think he's not a fast processor. And
Yeah.
there's a difference. I think you have to give him some time. We're very decisive. Do you remember the part they were talking about, the brain? All of their brain space is lodged around sex and when can I get it? And ours is about communication. So you have to lob it out there and then give him time to process it. He can't have an immediate reaction for you. And that, you want that immediate feedback.
Well, I gave him 4 days after the spouse event, and he's like, "You just asked me 3 times tonight. I don't know yet."
It's also something that they're not used to doing. This is not
True.
the guys aren't going to be sitting around learning about how they can better their core needs and better themselves. So, like, I've gone through this several times, and I've had conversations like this with Anthony, and it's like he just doesn't. Even when I'm talking about our dreams, like, what do you want to do in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Where do you want to be? What? And he's like, I don't know. I guess I've never had to think about this before. I can't just come up with these answers. I'm like, well, that's fine, but I don't want this to go untalked about.
Sure.
And it's been a process working through that with him to start to begin to do that, and it's getting better. Not perfect, but it's a process because they're just not. That's not where their brain works.
And there aren't very many things like this for a man.
Is there any sort of like devotional or work type things that for spouses or for people to work together? You know, like I've always wanted to do this, and I don't think Matt would be on board right away. He'd just do it because he loves me. But you know, to read at night or you know what I mean, like to talk
I'll
about
be
things.
honest, you guys,
That makes sense.
what we're talking about is personal development. It just takes time. And it takes time for them to even recognize that, like, wanting it doesn't mean that you're broke. I mean, there's just a lot of things. And we were just talking at lunchtime, you know. Like, one time I did an event, Anthony came, and Jared Gears was there, and all, and it was very powerful. I know they hated every second of it. I taught core needs. But at the end, do you remember Jared was like, you know, I actually got demoted at my last job because, and I mean, like, and he, I mean, it was really like when he shared, he's like, and I felt really bad about myself, and I realized now it was because I didn't have the leadership that I needed, and they didn't teach me this whole time I've been internalizing it. And I mean, like, the other men in the room were like, whoa. That was, I really think, a changing day. He wrote me this lovely letter and said I released a lot of, like, hurt feelings towards myself, but I also know there were probably there were probably 10 times more men there thinking, I wish Grace would die. Because I just hate being here. And so I don't think you can force it on anybody. I don't. I think you just have to keep getting better. And Mark said something a couple months ago, we were talking, and he's like, I'll never stop being grateful that you've taken up this, you know, dream of becoming your better self, because it's forced me to be a better man. And I thought, timestamp, 18 years, 4 days. You know, like, I mean, it took you, so, I mean, and he's been becoming the whole time, but they have to make that choice. You can't force somebody. You can't force somebody or they'll be resentful. So the more that you grow, he'll grow. He'll grow. What about you, babe?
For me, I am safety and security. So something, the communication I want to work on is definitely with my husband. I want to make sure we both can get on the same pages for like the things that we want, because I think he's got a high fun and pleasure or adventure. I don't remember what it is. But he's also very safety and security minded too. Like, he budgets, but I don't know anything. So I want like a budget set, so that way we can paid off the van faster, paid off the house faster, like, and get the things that we want, so we can do a better, happier life.
It is. It's absolutely important. What else?
So I'm safety and security. I'd say Jeremiah's probably fun and pleasure. So he's on this kick of pinball machines because he builds them. So I guess like just working out like, hey, if we hit this goal, maybe we could put money away to get you another pinball machine. Like make it more of like him helping me build my business instead of me being like, oh my gosh, I have to do this like all by myself. I have to like figure out what needs to be done instead of Jeremiah being like, okay, well, what are you even doing?
And this is a great thing. Okay, you guys, there are some men or spouses or spouses, they're more extroverted or they love this stuff. They're gonna wanna have more to do with it. And then there are some that are not. And that's okay. Mark Lemke, like, God love him, he wanted to be in there and have his hands and all that, and I was like, no. It just does not work. That is not our dynamic, okay? He very well could be. He could deliver product, he'd be great at that.
Oh yeah.
Okay? No, Mark Lemke. Okay? Because he would just stare at people. Here's your order.
The first time he brought me in order, I was like, who is this guy and why is he giving me stuff?
Which is
Never met him before that
he
day.
doesn't get to do it anymore. Okay. So I guess what I'm just saying too is don't look and say, well, that's what works for them, so that's how I'm gonna do it. Maybe it is and maybe it's not. Maybe Mark Lemke just comes on the top director trips with me. And that's his contribution to Mary Kay. We joke now, his real goal or his real job in our business, he's my handler. He makes sure that he calls himself Grace's handler. He told me he was getting a shirt. Because he makes sure that I think about eating and fun stuff because I love my job and I love you guys, and so I can be very focused, and he helps me remember that I need to take care of my body and myself. And
Example, I walk out of her office the other day, I leave the door open and she goes, Mark, are you making food?
and he's like, babe, I know your stomach's been bothering you. I have my ulcers that are probably, and he's like, I said, did you make noodle soup? He's like, of course I did. And I was like, oh. So see, that's all I don't need him to do anything. I don't need him to deliver product. I don't need him to do any of that. I just need noodle soup. That's what works for us. Okay? What about you, Mads? Which one are you? Love and connection, right? And what do you need? And what do you need to communicate? And who do you need to communicate it to?
I mean, I need fun and adventure like right now. I don't know I need to communicate it with anybody, but I will communicate it with my family if they want to pay for a trip.